I've been following them for ages. No, you've been following an opportunity to get a big bag of money in a meaningless league. That's what you've been following, the opportunity to go into a football that's... Look, a lot's going to be made.
He's been tactful, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not going to turn around and say, I'm only here for a bag of money. You know, I don't really want to be in the desert, but there's a big bag of money here, or a big bag of oil for me, and that's the reasons why I'm here. I mean, look, a lot's being made of this Saudi situation, and I think that it does have jeopardy to it. And obviously, football, to some people, is a religion, but this religion has been turned into a circus. You know, the Saudis try to pirate our Premier League. They've bought one of our football clubs, and now they're trying to pour oil all over our Premier League pitches. And then what they're looking at, the reality of, is they're missing the bigger picture. Football fans, in my view, for what it's worth, fans are very tribalistic, and the deep-seated emotion that football brings, and you know, European football, English football, Spanish football, is seated in two things. The club. First of all, fans love their clubs. Then they love their country and the team that their clubs play for, in terms of the country they represent. And then they love their players.
Yeah.
They're just taking individual players, dropping them into a league which is meaningless. And all they're going...
not meaningless to them.
And it has no substance.
No, wait a minute. It's not. I mean, there's a touch of English arrogance here. It's not meaningless to them.
What is the purpose behind the Saudi League? What is their end game? Everybody has an end game.
To make it the biggest league in the world.
To what end? At all
because
costs,
at all costs,
irrespective of an outcome. What does the biggest league in the world look like? The one that you spend the most money in, the one that buys everybody in terms of players, builds no individual loyalty. The Liverpools, the Barcelonas, the Munichs, the Ajaxes, the Real Madrids, the next generation, the Man Cities, the Real Madrids. If we are under the...
what the Saudis are doing is we can't get their clubs. We can't buy their clubs, but I tell you what we'll do. We'll buy their players.
And there's the problem.
That's what they're doing.
Because players come and go. Football clubs are at the centre of tribalism. Football was driven by tribalism. There is no tribe. It's going to take them several generations to be able to get to a point where
they say they'll do it in 2 years.
They can say what they want. What they can do is they can buy a scattering of Harlem Globetrotter-esque sort of players that will give it a feel, but it won't give it any tribalism. It will give it a feel of people wanting to watch it through certain platforms, maybe for DAZN. But if you're looking at undermining the mechanics of the bigger leagues, I'm not suggesting that we don't need to be mindful of this. I'm not suggesting that there isn't going to be a cause and effect of this. I'm not suggesting that the ecosystem isn't going to be damaged, you know, almost in significant terms if there isn't some control put over what the Saudis are allowed to spend if they want to participate in bigger football than just playing in the desert amongst 36 teams that the rest of the world have never heard of, right? And the bottom line is nobody cares. Nobody's sitting here.
You say that now.
I'm saying it now because I believe at the centre of football.
You say that now. The Saudis quite rightly want a seat at the top table, and that's what they're trying to do.
And that's fine. But to get to the top table...
Well, who's anyone in the English Premier League to say they shouldn't be doing that?
No, they can go for their lives. I'm saying how they achieve it. What their wishes are is fine. They can go for whatever they want, right? I think their reaction to the Qataris is the reasons why they're pushing this envelope so hard. This isn't Live Golf. This isn't doing a merger with golf. This is trying to change the dynamic of how football's been held together for 130 years, which is the legacy and the feeling and the tribalism, the feeling that football fans have for football is born upon them by their fathers and by their father's father. And we all get involved in football for a different reason than the Saudis are getting involved. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't have value in their football, but to try and ultimately undermine the structure of European football is going to be a very, very tall order. Now,
but they say they're football mad, they're football crazy, they always have been.
And I'm not suggesting that the value to them isn't going to be valuable to the 35 million people that live in Saudi. I'm talking about the net effect of what that does to English football, what it does to Spanish football, what it does to Italian football. The damage it does to those football is the financial landscape, losing their places amongst the elite of football, sort of taking away the tribalism. You can buy players and players will come and go. Football clubs don't come and go. The football club, you know, goes on. Liverpool goes on from the 70s to the 80s and 90s.
Of course.
But when you've got... So you can't undermine that. You can't deconstruct that. You can try and get yourself a seat at the top table. But I tell you this now, doesn't matter how much money they got, it's going to take them a hell of a long time to do it.
They say they'll do it in 2 years.
They can't do it in 2 years.
They say they'll do it. They say they'll have the best players playing in the best league in 2 years.
Not possible. How can you have...
It's already started.
Ultimately, all of the legacy and heritage and value and tribalism of football across the world...
But they say there's tribalism between their clubs.
Yes, but this is deep-seated into history.
Etihad beat Al Nassr last night. There'll be tribalism between the two supports.
And that's wonderful. But nobody in planet football cares. They don't care. A bunch of mercenaries running around kicking a ball in the desert for a big bag of money and getting paid in oil.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.